Господа, мы начинаем новый свой.
Ladies and gentlemen, we started a new project called Learning from Mistakes. This project is international. Everyone will be able to participate in it. Why precisely on mistakes? Because probably in business, it's not customary to talk about mistakes. Everyone wants to talk about success, but rarely talk about what they had to go through before achieving success. Our heroine, Marina, lives in Tbilisi, has agreed to talk about the mistakes in her business. Well, that's your time to speak, dear. Thank you and good afternoon. This is really a very interesting project, and I agreed to take part in it. We consider what we are learning from other people's mistakes, but in fact, we always make our own and then learn from it. We are now in the wine cellar of the 17th century, which is located in the center of Tbilisi. My family has been in the wine business here for 12 years. However, not everything went well, and unfortunately, not everything always works out the way we want. But the most important thing in our business is the staff, and I understand that the staff also has the right to make mistakes. But I know from my own experience that you should never look for the guilty in the business. The owner is responsible for everything. I mean that all the mistakes that I made were my mistakes. I admit them, and most importantly, for everyone who is engaged in business, then you find any mistakes, do not blame yourself. Try to understand and correct them. What are the typical mistakes? It was not so important whether it was the selection of personnel or, for example, the wrong strategy. It does not matter. The main thing is to determine what your goal is, and then your business exists. Then you have formed realistic short-term plans, and you have fulfilled them. This is success, and this is the main thing. Long-term plans are difficult to implement. For example, unexpected pandemic happened. So what? When you have long-term plans but all businesses are closed, and this situation has practically destroyed all the business around the world, not only here. Meanwhile, short-term plans always work, especially if there is a clear plan according to which it's necessary to act. We have a very good Georgian poem. Unfortunately, there is no translation into Russian or English. It tells us that boastful person is not always a successful person. He praises himself, but in fact, he is not very capable, has no ideas, knowledge, energy. He cannot even move the glass to another place. So you need to work hard on yourself. How's it in business? The size of the business is not so important because the mistakes are the same everywhere. But few people talk about their mistakes, so your project is very relevant. People who make mistakes, they teach others by their own example. So yes, we had mistakes with the selection of personnel. We have already said that business cannot be started with friends, because in most cases they lose both friends and business partners. We had this experience and it was very painful. We have a small business. We do not need investments, but other businesses need investments to develop. My advice: try to develop the business at the expense of profits, and investments must be returned. I am the type of a person who tries to develop business at the expense of profit. A business that makes a profit often reinvests it, and I think it's important. But in big business, it's a little different, and this advice may not be useful to them. They had a big mistake regarding investments. Banking rates are very high and often does not allow it to develop. You work only for the bank, and as soon as you return investment loans, your business begins to develop. Also, the big problem is that it's very difficult to find staff in a business. Even the simplest vacancies are difficult to fill. and then they find such people. They must be protected. It applies to any business. If possible, it's necessary to develop these personnel, to train them, because it is better to invest in your people who will be your team forever, not only because you give them a salary, but also because you take care of them. And if they feel your business and act right, then take care to save your team. In our business, the team is like a family. Yes, we're not relatives, but they trust each other 100%. This is very valuable. You need to respect, love, and appreciate your employees. Whether it's a worker or a specialist, you need to appreciate their contribution and their work. In the beginning, we made stupid mistakes, Now I laugh at them, but then it seemed to me that this was a tragedy. In fact, all the mistakes we made were valuable experiences. If you don't admit the mistake, then it becomes a problem. It is important to admit defeat, admit that you were wrong. Just do not make a tragedy out of this and go ahead. Tell Marina, I know that you have a family business and there is a wine cellar, right? Cellar. How old is cellar? Our cellar is one of the 100 oldest cellars in Tbilisi, built in the 17th century. This is a unique wine cellar built with Georgian bricks and river stones. There used to be a spring there, which unfortunately no longer exists, because it's located in the very center of the old city, and there is a constant reconstruction going on here. This historical cellar, which we will definitely visit and see, starts from the 17th century, and now its life is in our hands. I really love this place. It has its own energy. All the guests who come to us for a tasting of Georgian wines, they all like it. They all feel it. The history of this cellar is very interesting, and they all feel the spirit that is there. It is already 3 centuries old. We have been in this business for 12 years. We are not the owners yet, but they really hope that this will be the case in the near future. This cellar, its aura, is felt by absolutely every person who comes here. With the building itself, where we are now, is from the 18th century. Very good people have gathered in our business, people with the soul who are now a rarity. Those people who come to us are not tourists, they are guests who become our friends, and every person who comes here and sees this love that goes from heart to heart. I can say that this is a family business. My son, my daughter are also in business, and my merit is that I raised them in love. And most importantly, business must also be based on love. It doesn't matter what business it is, if you don't love the business you are starting, it will never go forward. Then you put your love into a business. Maybe you need socks there. If it doesn't happen with love, then the business will in no way give the fruits you want. But the store that you have, of course, your family also works there? What period? How old is the store? Around 10-12 years ago we have started. Well, I think that there must have been some mistakes, some experience. What did you try to do make it develop? What did you change? I'll tell you now, in general, how this idea itself began. It's very interesting, because nothing happens in life just like that. Georgia is the cradle of winemaking. Georgian winemaking is more than 8,000 years old. It is part of our culture, and they're proud of it, because the technologies of Georgian wines are unique, and they are not found anywhere in the world. The whole process, all this goes to query, and from the people about 1,000 varieties of grapes in the world, more than 50% of Georgian folk grape varieties. Very interesting. My children were in a completely different field, and yet genetics are doing their job. They are with me now. I had a grandfather who had his own grape variety. His last name is Andaladze, and Black Andaladze is a grape variety. And I think it did its job when my son started doing this thing, looking for unique grape varieties. By the way, it's interesting that my son graduated from Tbilisi State University, International Economic Relations.
Sometimes you need to go and take a step back to see the truth around you. From a distance you can tell. You and me were meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. You and me, meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free.
And in his second year, he had business project about wine, and he learned that grandfather produced and sold his wine in the Soviet Union, then no one did. And he was one of the highest quality winemakers and respected people in Western Georgia. And we continued his work. We didn't have such big goals then, we just decided, let's do it. You don't have to be afraid of anything that you don't have the skills. Remember that Noah's Ark was made by amateur and the Titanic was built by real engineers. And what happened to one and the other? So you need to start. The first steps can be difficult, but love is at the core, and then fortune, and this is important. Fortune has also great importance in business because there are people who work very hard, invest a lot. They seem to do everything right, but it doesn't work out because at the wrong time, the wrong people there were. That's why I think luck is also important. And in this regard, we also had luck. Luck, what they found a place that is a diamond in the old city. It turned out that the person who owns this facility is our very good friend. And we have been practically cooperating with him for 12 years. And this is a person who trusts us. We respect him very much. This is how we care his place, and a lot depends on this too. Well, I would also like to ask, it can't be that everything then to smoothly right away. Were there any failures? It's hard to develop everything at once. Of course, there are always failures in business. For example, in this business, failure can be quite banal. But whether, when you are waiting for a harvest and either a drought or rains begins and you lose a lot, yes, of course there is such thing, and not everything depends on us. How did you act in that moment? In principle, it's possible to get out of this situation. In this business, we take into account these nuances. And if you lose any income, you must definitely look for an alternative. And if you correctly find this alternative, then you can pass through very easily. Good. Now another question. I know that you, in my opinion, still have a vineyard somewhere else, right? Yes, we have vineyards in Western Georgia, small vineyards in Kakheti in Western Georgia. Basically now, this is Martvelski district, Samagrela. 70% of all vineyards are located in Kakheti, and in western Georgia there are unique varieties that need to be restored. And my son has a positive quality. He loves to develop small winemakers, tries to help them, tells them how to bottle wine correctly, improve technology, and teach them how to run a business. And in this case, we get very good cooperation. We have our own vineyards that we revive those varieties that have already been forgotten. It will take several more years for them to bear fruit, and cooperation with small farmers who produce very worthy wine but can't sell it and we sell it. In this case, we get a very good tandem. Well, it's the same thing that artists paint, but they can't sell paintings. Yes, and this is where we need someone to help. Does your daughter also work in the store? Yes. She is also an opera singer, an amazing girl. Yes, she has an opera background. Do you still work as a guide somewhere? Yes, I work as a guide. I am VIP tour guide in the Georgian Guides Association. I love my job very much. You know what's the matter? When I receive guests here, I'm also a guide here. I'm a person who opens his country to people. People discover the country through people. Not for beautiful places, not for beautiful or delicious food. This is of course important, but I consider that my guests are my friends. Georgia is famous for its hospitality, and all my tourists are my guests, personal guests, and I am very glad that they are lucky that I accept them here. There is always a gift, our tasting in our cellar, and then we become friends. My fields of work are very closely connected with business. One only helps the other. And both of these areas together bring pleasure to our guests. I understand, thanks. I know that there is a third floor, a basement. Then the first floor is a store, and then there is the second floor. And do you have a hotel there? Yes. How long does it work, and why did you choose this field too? I do a lot of work in the hotel. I put a lot of work into creating the aura that exists there. And now you will not surprise anyone with hotel service. The only thing that can surprise people is sincerity. When guest comes to us, I always tell them, feel at home, and this is very important for them. I tell them that here they have a kitchen and you will find everything on it because we have it on mental level. Feel at home. Here's the tea, here is coffee, whatever you want. And when they say that no one controlled us, they just close the doors. Goodbye, see you tomorrow. At the moment, they already feel at home. Sometimes my friends ask, Marina, how do you let them be without control? They have very good works of artists. I say, if you are at home, you never steal anything from yourself. They say later, Marinochka, you know yesterday it was dripping from there. They have an Italian courtyard there. Then it rains, it's open. I say, don't worry, it's just raining. They worry because they feel at home, and then something goes wrong at home. Yes, it's okay that a person notices it. And then we have very good reviews. I read these reviews. Lord, how happy I am. There is nothing more valuable than these words and guests write to us. Gratitudes. Gratitude and their words about open, sincere, loving atmosphere here. For me, it's everything. So I opened the Georgian soul for them. They saw it, it's very valuable. And sometimes I'm sitting here, my daughter laughs all the time, says, Marina, you have grown old because these sentiments come only over the years. While I say, Marinochka, no, this is the result of experience. Tell me, what difficulties did you face with the hotel? Difficulties, yes, we faced. Unfortunately, not only they suffered from pandemic, medium-sized and small businesses people suffered. When people do not have money, then we specially reduce hotel prices for people who do not come through booking but come on their own. Situation was very difficult. We received guests almost free of charge. We saw what situation were they in. Well, my dear, first of all, I want to say thank you, and I hope that the experience of this energetic, strong, beautiful, intelligent woman will help someone to develop their business. Probably, neither beauty nor nature, nor wine can attract guests as much as the love that you feel in everything in Georgia. I think this human worth, love, sincerity is a magnetism that attracts everyone here from all over the world. Again, I absolutely agree with you because in fact you discover in any country through people, and in any country when you are going to return, you will definitely think about the person who is dear to you. We have guests who come to visit us all the time, and I'm so happy at this time because when you give this love, you get such very tasty and very beautiful fruits. Thanks. Thank you very much. You're an amazing woman. We're glad that we visited you. Thank you that they were able to communicate, feel with energy, warmth, and love. Thank you so much, and I want to wish all the people who watch your wonderful programs to take something important for themselves. Wish everyone success, wish everyone prosperity in their business, and do not give up. All the time you have to be very strong in order to break through, to go through all sorts of difficulties, and to remember love is the most important thing in business.